marathon. I'm Tom, TLUO, and would my commentators introduce themselves?
You go first.
Okay. Hi, I'm Eric J. Math.
And I'm a chocolate orange, but everyone calls me Akko.
Okay, so yeah, this is Celeste, and yeah, I'll be running Red Berries. So I think I'm pretty much good to go. So, yeah, we're gonna go in 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
All right, so most people here have probably seen Celeste before, but it's still worth it to explain that Celeste is a momentum-based platformer. Most of the tech that you'll be seeing Tom do is going to be based around dash cancels in the form of supers or hypers, which are dashes canceled with jumps that keep your dash momentum as well as momentum that you receive from platforms and stuff. Hypers give you a little more speed as well, with with a crouched dash input, and set your speed to, I want to say 325, and that's pixels per second. What else do we see here? Oh yeah, wall bounces are important. Imagine you're doing a hyper or a super, but upwards. That's a wall bounce.
Yeah, and this is the all red berries. So you've already seen Tom collect a few berries here. We're getting 175 berries through the whole run, so quite a few. And getting these berries changes the route we have to take compared to an 90% speedrun. So different chapters will be played a bit, as we will talk about later.
Yeah, one thing already to note there is that he returned to map after collecting one of the berries there. And the reason for that is that returning to that checkpoint saves time, I believe only in-game time. So Celeste speedruns are timed in-game with a timer that is really a frame counter that advances 0.017 seconds every frame. But that counter does not go up while you are in the map. So returning to map there saves time. I don't think it saves time RTA. I think it might be about even. I'm not positive about that. But there's another RTM here, or rather a save and quit. That saves time on the heart collect animation.
Yeah, so we do have to collect some hearts. We will talk about that later, but we do need 4 hearts throughout this run, so we select which 4 to collect, hopefully for the fastest speeds.
Yeah, so generally the hearts that you get, the reason we need hearts is because you need 4 hearts to get into core, which has the last 5 berries in the game. So the run will be ending when we finish core. And the 4 fastest hearts to get are 1A, 3A, 5B, and then 6B or 2A. Where 6B tends to save about 20 to 30 seconds at the highest level, but it's like high risk, high reward, where you know, if you die once or twice during 6B, you can possibly lose that entire time save. So I believe Tom, to be safe, will be going for 2A heart here.
Yeah. Also, it's 4A rather than 5B.
Oh yeah, why am I saying 5B? It's 4A, my bad.
And
5B is 90%.
That is the end of the first chapter. Pretty speedy, I would say.
255 is pretty decent, yeah.
Just a quick reminder for everybody watching that we are raising money for a charity, for Stack Up, who supports veteran mental health through gaming. So if you want to do charity in the chat. You can find out all about it and how to donate if you so choose, which we would greatly appreciate it, as all the money's going to a great cause.
So Tom goes ahead and gets the heart here. Another thing that might be important to mention here is that to collect a berry, you need to remain on the ground for, I believe, 9 frames. So we might expect to see Tom with a couple berries here following him in start, because you generally don't have the opportunity to collect a couple of these.
Yeah, because waiting for 9 frames would be slow. So we want to go fast. Gonna avoid touching the ground for 9 frames.
There is, of course, risk reward to it, because if you die without having collected the berry, which hopefully we won't see, but if you die without having collected the berry, it returns to the spot where it needs to be collected, and you have to go grab it again. But it looks like Tom's getting out of start here pretty cleanly. Another thing I didn't mention when I was talking about speed tech is ultras, which are which allow you to build up speed to a significantly higher level than you can with hypers. But in order to execute one, you need to land on the ground after your dash has ended to get a 1.2 times speed boost. Well, okay, that's not entirely true. You can land before your dash has ended, but then your speed ends when your dash ends.
Yeah, so this is now the battle and chase portion of the Chapter 2A. So in addition to avoiding battle and going fast, we also have to collect the berries, of course, because we're getting all of the berries. So a bit of different movement here than you might expect to see in any percent, just because we need the berries. Very nice. Yeah, and moving on to this portion, there are 2 berries here after Battlein has stopped chasing, and then 1 more berry later on after we wake up from the dream that this level has been.
Spoilers.
Sorry, spoilers.
We're pretty clean so far. Awake is one of the coolest segments, I think, to watch, just because you build up all this speed. But in Arb, we take a detour here to get this last berry, and Nice gets a spike jump first try.
Yeah, those spikes are a suggestion.
All spikes are a suggestion.
Reflight is pretty good, so
So going into chapter 3, if you are not familiar, this one is like very much about cycles. There's cycles everywhere. You see these dust bunnies just schmoovin'. There's also something that maybe is not as well known, is that there are key cycles in this game, which is that a key can only enter a door once it's facing the door. So if you reach the door at the correct part of the animation, you can actually save a few frames. I'm not sure how much time you can actually save on key cycles.
usually it ends up being around half a second, I think. Sometimes more, sometimes less.
Yep, so a few rooms again that you wouldn't see in an 80% speedrun simply because they contain berries. We need them.
Here for that wall bounce there, it's a lot more lenient if you just step a few pixels away from the wall there. So you saw Tom just like walk in for a second.
When you walk in.
Something we didn't mention before is that aside from regular berries, there are winged berries, as you saw just in that room, and seeded berries, which each have slightly different mechanics. Winged berries, they start flying upwards as soon as you dash in the room, so while it's not necessarily impossible to collect after a dash, you have a very small period of time where you can collect it after dashing. What we saw Tom just go for there is called Yasig, or just a strat, I guess. It involves an ultra into a corn boost into a coyote jump in order to collect that berry by going over the top through the transition. Unfortunately, he didn't get it, but it loses what, like a second or so.
Usually you don't die when you miss it, but yeah. Wasn't expecting to get it. Was closer than I thought though.
Yeah, it was close.
So this is the huge mess portion of the chapter, and a different route here is taken as opposed to the 80% route again.
Alright, because you want to collect the heart.
Right, because we need the heart, just as was mentioned before in chapter 2 and chapter 1.
So here, like I said, the wingberry doesn't disappear as soon as you dash, but starts moving upwards. So there, you have to dash in order to collect that one. So yeah, here we turn around and go through this waterfall, this actual waterfall, mind you, to make it back to the heart room over here. And then Tom will be going out through the other end there just to reset the spawn point, because if you enter through what is supposed to be the exit to the heart room, the game does not have a spawn point set for that entrance to the room, and so it sets you to the default spawn point for the room, which is in the upper branch of Huge Mess, and so it skips you talking to Ashiro once.
One more interesting, I guess, thing in the route for the huge mess section is, so there are 3 sections and they can be completed in any order. This is the fastest order to complete them and also collect berries. Once Tom has collected all of the berries and cleaned up all 3 sections, you have access to a key in the middle of the giant huge mess room. And I believe that it's fastest to get this key and put the key in the door, but then don't go through the door immediately because there's one more berry to collect.
Yeah, so there's a berry under the bridge here that is now gone because it was made up of all the things we cleaned up in the huge mess. And essentially, so the route changed recently, relatively recently, to being Taos first, because it's faster for going for the for that berry at the end if you put the key in the door and then go for that berry. But that is the slowest part of the route. That is the part that's like the bottleneck of that route.
Here we are in one of the rooms that you might know from 80%, where you can dash right through those things using a demo dash, but there are some berries down here that we would miss. We have to come down here and collect these first. And it turns out it is faster to still get all the berries and go back up and do the demo dash rather than go and get the key anyways. So we will be doing the demo dash just after we quickly detour to get those berries.
We're also doing another demo right after in the next screen. This one is buffered out of a reverse hyper. which I guess that's something to mention, which is that if you're not aware of Celeste tech, you can also reverse your supers and hypers by pressing the opposite direction while pressing your jump input for the dash cancel.
Alright, and the Oshiro section is the last section of this chapter. There are still a few berries here that we have to collect, so we will be dodging Oshiro while also collecting these berries. Very nice.
Couple hiccups there, but we're through.
I mean, all in all, it was
Yeah.
clean, right? So,
Yeah. Not gonna complain with a sub 7. So
Real quick, we have a $5 donation from Sushi, who says, "Good luck, have fun."
thanks, Sushi.
thanks, Sushi. What's to talk about right away in Ridge? I guess we can talk about the level itself, which is, I mean, the main mechanic of Ridge is wind. It's windy. The wind, it pushes you, but normally we're going fast enough that we don't care that much. Here we have Archie, which essentially when you have crouch state going into that bubble, it moves the bubble up, I think, 2 pixels.
Yeah.
And that allows you to do an upright out of that bubble to the coin there. And here we have a seeded berry, which I didn't explain when I was explaining the lean berry. Essentially, you just collect all those seeds without landing on the ground for 9 frames again, and then you spawn the berry. Something important about that is that if you touch the ground for that many frames, or if you touch the ground and then jump, it'll delete the seeds and you have to go recollect them. But if you leave the ground quickly enough, you can get your dash refresh and basically cheat the seeds. Shrine here is a big difference between the ARB and any percent runs, just because, you know, in nice, lovely save. He wanted to get an extended hyper off of that block in order to have a second dash to dash to the end of that screen, but missed it and just casually did a jump off the corner there to save it. It's fine. But yeah, there are a lot of berries in Shrine, so you see a lot of deviation between the routes here. And then we'll see Tom going back here because there's a berry and because we want to get this heart. You might have seen that Mario 3 block. Basically, the idea is that you're supposed to go and activate the background, but instead, Tom is a gamer and gets fast heart first try before I can get a chance to explain it. But basically, yeah, you're meant to go and use the background tiles as foreground tiles to climb up there. But you can, with a precise wall bounce, just make it with the wall jump there.
Tom keeps getting all the strats first try, we don't have to explain them. Yeah, there was another strat that we just witnessed. Maybe you didn't know about it.
Yeah.
Called Ceiling Pop.
Yeah.
Very precise trick. Very cool looking, in my opinion.
Essentially what it is you're doing a climb jump to set your sub-pixel so that you can buffer a climb jump right on the corner of a wall that that stops your downward speed, but allows you to move past the wall. Did you? Oh no.
I didn't know if I could go back for that one.
Yeah, it would have been quite unfortunate if you couldn't, but luckily we're still good here. Oh yeah, the rest of Ceiling Pop is that after doing that tech, you have to hit a 2-frame window for an upright dash to get a kick off the wall. And if you do a diag demo, it becomes a 4-frame window because demos give you a crouch state, and that allows you to make it past the wall more often, or on a wider range of frames rather.
Yeah, so overall, just lots of bubble movement here with the wind to collect the final few berries to get into the last checkpoint of Golden Ridge.
Yeah, Cliff Face has some of the strongest wind, as well as bringing in snowballs, which are like Oshiro but backwards. Is there anything else major we're gonna see here?
We will definitely be using the snowballs to our advantage, though. No,
Yeah.
these might be a frustrating thing for a lot of players on their first playthrough, but with speedrunning, they can actually be very helpful. Really not too much, just a couple berries that are mostly along the way to completing the chapter. And we will just grab those really quick and be out of here.
Surely that time isn't right. The time's good, but the run felt a lot worse than the time.
I mean, you got the fast heart and the ceiling pop.
Yeah, I guess.
Cleanly.
A lot
It
of
was
the
just
mistakes
that that one death with the berry was really the notable negative, I think.
Yeah.
Going into Temple, we're going to encounter dash blocks and red bubbles. Dash blocks, they move when you dash. I know that's a big shocker, but you know, it's is what it is. But 5 ARB is really cool to watch, mainly because you don't really see 5A in many other categories. You see it in Hundo, of course. You see it in all chapters, all hearts up until the heart. But also because there are a lot of berries in this temple for some reason. Ooh, nice multi-boost.
Shoutouts to Coral Reef.
Shoutouts to Coral Reef. But yeah, we have like 3 hub rooms here in 5A.
Yeah, from a speedrunning point of view, Temple is normally a pretty quick chapter in any percent or in, you know, a lot of categories, but it's actually one of the longer ones in R because of all the berries that are just kind of in all these side rooms off of these hubs. So we'll be going almost to like every single room in the chapter to get the berries. It'd be very hard to find these berries casually since there's not really any way to know like where they are.
Also because the chapter is very dark at points.
Definitely.
The whole intent of Miro Temple was to try and make the player feel like they were lost without like impeding player's ability to progress too much, and I definitely felt that on a casual playthrough, I would say. Oh yeah, it's worth mentioning that this chapter, not the chapter, this category is called All Red Berries because there are berries in this game that are not red, that are still strawberries, and having a run to collect those is kind of a whole different ball game. I don't think I've seen that that corner boost before.
Yeah,
Out of the Wingberry room.
Yeah. I remember I saw Ryunata do it once, and who said he took it from Spirity, so told me how to do it and just sure. Save some 0.4 seconds over the next strat, if I remember correctly.
0.4, that's actually a decent time save there.
It's pretty big.
So I misspoke a bit earlier saying that Tom would go to 5B, which obviously you cannot because there are berries in this chapter, shocking as it may seem. But we still have to go all around here. We have to get literally one room away from that cassette just to get these last few berries in start. Or sorry, not in start, in depth.
Yeah, the way that the berries are dispersed throughout this chapter, there is a lot of them in the first 2 checkpoints, and then they're kind of scattered out pretty scarcely through the last 3. I think 2 of those checkpoints only have 1 berry.
Mm-hmm. There's one in Unraveling, and there's one in Rescue, and then Search has a few.
Shout out to Archie.
First try, double bubble skip.
I don't think that actually is double bubble skip, but Archimedes.
Listen.
Yeah. Speaking of Unraveling, it's coming up basically right after this unskippable cutscene here. But yeah, it's probably one of the hardest sections of 5A in my opinion, so hopefully it goes well.
So here we're introduced to the other main mechanic of 5A, or rather of Temple as a whole, which is Seekers, which are Seekers rather. They follow you. We need them sometimes, like right here, to collect the 1 berry in Unraveling. It can be annoying sometimes because like you want them to behave a certain way and then they don't, but Tom is a gamer and is getting everything so far.
Yeah, so since there's not really any berries other than the 1 in this checkpoint, we just kind of need to progress through these rooms as fast as possible.
Yeah, and we are now already in Search. So, pretty quick checkpoint because again, it's just the 1 berry. It's for the most part, it's the same as 90%. Search is going to be a bit longer than it would be if you were playing any percent, because you can just essentially skip the entire checkpoint with a reverse hyper and a corner boost in a room that we'll be getting to later. But we of course need to collect all these berries first. Oh yeah, definitely something to point out was that download there, M Dragon skip. Very nutty.
Yeah, something else about this checkpoint is that there are 3 keys scattered throughout, and there are 2 doors in the main hub room that will get too close to them with a key. They will take your key away. So we only actually need 1 of these keys for this berry coming up right here. But
And
if you get
you'll
too
see
close to one of those doors, then you have to go and get a different key, maybe.
the room before this was the one with the reverse hyper corner boost that allowed us to skip the other 2 keys that you would otherwise need to complete the search.
Right.
And here, this is one more seeker manip to get that coin. And now we are in rescue. So, for the most part, this is just going to be tight Theo movement. But there is one point where we're just going to have to detour for a berry. Should be just a couple rings here. Yep. There we are.
Theo will say a nice comment to you when you collect this berry.
Now you're just showing off. And that is the last time we have to make a seeker do anything we want, I think. Well, well, I hope.
Would you say that Theo is like one of the hardest parts of the run?
Well, I'm not sure. I would love Tom's input on that.
Yeah, Theo's usually pretty rough, but that's a sub 9. That's a sub 9 temple. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that was very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty clean.
31 berries.
Just making sure you didn't forget something.
Yeah. Some of those parts were a bit sketchy, but we're still good.
Alright, we're going into Reflection here, the 6th chapter, which is the only chapter of the base game that does not, or rather the only A-side in the base game that does not have any berries. And so, essentially, Tom's just going to be any percenting his way through this chapter. Lake skip, nice, first try. It's a somewhat difficult trick. I don't know how it compares to the other stuff you're looking to do in R, but it's certainly one of the harder things we do.
Yeah, it's scary, but it's fine with practice, in my opinion. It's the relatively tight ball bounce as well.
How many frames do you have for it?
I think it's more a matter of
Pixel
how many
window,
pixels,
right?
yeah. And I don't really know the pixel window on it. It's something like 2 or 3 horizontally.
What else is there to mention here? Oh yeah, do you want to go ahead, Eric?
I don't know what you were going to talk about.
Okay, sure. So, funny thing about this level is that it was originally going to be a water level, but I think they ended up deciding that it just was not as interesting as they originally thought when designing it, and it eventually ended up in this form. The water mechanics kind of are still here in the form of feathers, because when you're moving in water, you have essentially full 360-degree like freedom of control of movement, and you do have the same thing with feathers. So there is a bit of the soul of it still here, but I'm glad that this is not a water level, is what I'll say.
Oh.
I didn't know you could do that.
I didn't either. Where am I going?
Classic, that's never happened before moment.
I don't know the death cycle for that room, so.
Yeah, one other thing in this chapter are these large blocks. We affectionately call them Kevins.
What? What happened there?
I think I held left a frame too long.
That's tragic.
And we will be using, so those Kevin blocks, those big brown blocks with the blue sides, if you dash into them, they will return the favor by dashing that direction or pushing you that direction. Here's the biggest one we see. And we'll be using this one for a trick called Battle and Boost. We can just kind of zoom through that whole part of the next screen using the momentum from that large Kevin block.
So this battle line fight, this is like probably one of my favorite sections from like casual playthrough, and it's definitely really fun to watch from a speedrun perspective as well. It just like I don't know what to say other than that it looks nutty every time.
All about going fast, of course.
We'll trick in the next room. Hopefully, first try.
Oh, this suits ultras.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was good.
Yes. 6A feather skip.
So again, the rest of this chapter is just, quick movement with all the mechanics from this chapter, the feathers, the bumpers, and all the whole time while dodging these projectiles and lasers from battle line.
And then we have a intermission room here. Where we go into the second stage of this fight.
Yeah, and there's lots of these blocks, as you can see, that will move on kind of set cycles. We get some momentum with those as well.
In the first phase, I believe Battleline only drops blocks on you, but on the second phase, you have these platform cycles.
Nice magnet there.
So yeah, this is the last room of the fight, and then we have Madeline getting her second dash by leveling up here, and then we've got just hopefully clean upwards movement here to finish out the level, and then we are going to be in Summit, which is the longest chapter like in the run, and where we're gonna see the most berries as well. Yo, you're kind of schmoovin', not gonna lie.
I am.
Kind of.
6A was a bit cringe, but hopefully I can make it up in 7 and 8.
So this is where we get to really like break free. We have our 2 dashes, and we get to revisit all the mechanics again in new ways. Easy demo for Tom,
Easy.
honestly. Also, why doesn't Celeste inherit the laser when they fuse?
It's Celeste girl. Okay.
Yeah, so the summit is based on you fell all the way down the mountain at the beginning of chapter 6, and now you have to climb back up it with the help of battle line. So we have 2 dashes, one of which is coming from the battle line.
Oh.
But basically there is a section from each of the previous chapters that we will be going through and collecting all the berries for.
Shout out to Zcab. Found a new micro optimization right there. That saves a portion of a second.
A portion? How big of a portion?
It's not very big. I think it's something like 0.2 to 0.4.
That's pretty big for Celeste in 2020.
Yeah, it varies a lot based on how you do it though, and I'm pretty sure the way I did it was pretty slow. So.
Yeah, one other thing to mention is that this chapter has like a lot of berries. 47.
Yeah.
It's quite a few. Way more than any other chapter, so
47 is what? 47, just gotta whip out my calculator right here. That's 27% of the berries in the entire run.
In one chapter.
So, yeah. We are going to be spending a lot of time here. Like I said, it's the biggest one.
and just like in Resort, where there's lots of rooms that you might not expect to see in an 80% run, there are plenty of rooms that we will not.
That was almost an incredible save.
There are lots of rooms that we, again, would not see in any percent run that we have to go and look at to see where the berries are and collect the berries.
Something to note is that I believe there's a room in this checkpoint that you don't see in any major category, right? Which is the
You see it in
room
Hundo.
on the right side of the so Tom went into a room to collect a berry and then immediately returned from the same path that he came in from. The room, the part of the room that's below that is not gone on in any category, I believe.
Alright, hold on, I need to
Because-
focus. This part is
All right.
very hard. Hold on, I'm going for it.
You're gonna retransition. Yeah, we got to see the Miro Strat.
Shoutouts to Nero X2.
Shoutouts to Miro X2.
That order normally saves a couple seconds over the other way around.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah, that was the brunt of the hard part of the chapter. Oh, I pressed jump.
The checkpoint.
Yeah, the checkpoint.
Yeah.
Minor slip up. We're chilling.
So just
Couple
like
of-
there's lots of cycles in the resort section of the main game, in the resort section of the summit, there's just way more cycles and they're much harder.
Oh, so in this room, I guess it's already come and gone, but there was a wingberry in that room that starts at the bottom of the screen that you're intended to catch at the top of the screen by doing a dash after essentially completing the entire room. but if you're fast enough, you can dash earlier in that screen and still catch up to it. So, yeah, that's what Tom did because he's fast. Something else to mention from 1.5K was the strat that we were calling Miro Strat. It's discovered earlier this year when Nero X2 reappeared in this community, showed it off. Essentially, you have one pixel worth of space that is divided across 2 pixels. So like from greater than 0.5 on one pixel to less than 0.5 on another to fall off of and fall through that gap in the dust bunnies. But you still need to do a down dash immediately after transition or you will die to those dust bunnies.
That was just Snug Marshmallow, who discovered that very early, or just, I think a month ago, not even. Normally you're supposed to take an auto-scroller block, but if you, but you can do a setup, to basically get your subpixel correct, so that you can just do 2 corner kicks and just dash up things. The setup I used was discovered by Marlon, so yeah. Special status to both of them. That strat saves, I think, some 2 or 3 seconds. So.
Very nice.
Alright, we're in 2.5K now, which is the last checkpoint before like the quote-unquote true summit. So this takes us through chapter 5, which, so I guess we should mention that lore-wise, chapter 6 is at the bottom of the mountain. As Eric said earlier, we dropped to the bottom in that chapter, and we're climbing back up the mountain again. So the first checkpoint that we completed was chapter 6. So we end with chapter 5 and then get to the true summit. Nice. That's another relatively recent strat, I would say.
Yeah.
Saves a pretty significant amount of time because previously we would have to go to the bottom room and take a bubble up to get that berry. But yeah, we are approaching the final screen of 2.5K here, which has 3 berries.
Yes.
And then the True Summit section itself has 3 subsections. The beginning is none of those sections, but we very quickly get into an updraft and a downdraft, and then or rather a downdraft and an updraft, and then a neutral one. No draft, if you will.
This checkpoint is literally just, there are 30 flags and they count down. So casually, it's a really cool way to end the game, and honestly just really hype. So
also shout out to Helena Rain. This music is like absurd. I feel like I basically cannot play this game with game music on if I'm trying to do runs, because the music in the last chapter or the last checkpoint of Farewell or like any end section is just so good at giving you that sense that you're approaching something, that you're like getting there, and it's like way too much pressure for me.
Fog Champ. That berry is hard as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, very nice.
But you're a Tom, so it's easy. Oh, nice demo.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, this that diag strat is honestly hard. I'm pretty sure Carl gave up on that.
I honestly don't know any other way of doing it, so.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know how you're not supposed to do that.
Oh wait, no. The strat that Carl gave up on was you can do a right dash, left dash, and then do a turnaround climb jump if you demo both, which is a little crazy, if you ask me.
Zany.
Sounds a bit zany, in my opinion.
Looking like a low 12, which is pretty good.
Yeah, I think I would be happy with a low 12.
Yeah, I was expecting worse considering how bad that one of those rooms in 1.5k felt, and also the Miro Strat fail.
So as much as this does feel like we're approaching the end here, we do still have one more chapter to go. 90% ends here, and this is like the last chapter in the main story of the game. The credits does roll after this, but we have 5 berries, and oh no. We have 5 berries in Summit we want to collect to finish out the run.
In core.
In core, yeah, my bad. Did I say Summit?
Yeah.
Where is Summit right now? What are you talking about, Akko?
This could be me. Alright, let's visit the
This
bridge
could
real
be me.
fast.
Yes, this is important.
Yeah, Epilogue does not start IGT, so we can spend time here doing whatever we want. Do not say GG because we are not out yet.
Yeah. Okay. 170 out of 175. Let's get those
Sure,
last
that is
5.
all, right?
Wait, where are the 5 that you missed? Oh no!
You have to go
No.
back.
They're here.
So what kind of a core do we need for PB?
I can afford a couple deaths. I think I need like a 430.
Alright. Do you want silence or?
No, we're good.
Alright,
Right.
alright.
Probably explain the mechanics of this chapter.
Sure. So the big difference in core is that landing on the ground no longer refreshes your dashes, which means that you can't do extended hypers or supers or anything like that, and you essentially have 2 dashes per screen unless they're refreshed somehow, like by a dash crystal or by a screen transition.
This is scuffles. I'm not. Oh wow, that worked.
That was close. So what you just saw him do there is called ice skip, because what the intended route is to collect that berry is that you're supposed to go to the right of that screen and go several rooms in. There's a switch that changes the entirety of core to ice, which is what you're seeing here now, being a mechanic at this checkpoint. But we can just like not do that, skip all those rooms by doing a hyper with a bit of momentum from the core block and making it through to those fireballs on the left. You collect the berry, you have both your dashes, you can make it back, easy peasy. Is what I'd like to say, but it sucks.
Favorite berry is 172? What? Who said that?
the important thing to note about the switching mechanic itself is that it switches the fireballs to these ice balls, which you can bounce off of. They're very fun. They make a nice crunchy sound. But they also sort of deactivate the core blocks, and they don't fling you anymore. What else changes? Oh yeah, the bumpers. You'll see that they're the bumpers that we saw in 6A, also existing in core. But when they're in the hot version, you cannot touch them. You just get killed by them. But when you switch to ice, you can use them as regular bumpers. And then there's one more thing that changes, which is these conveyor things on the right. They're conveyors when it's hot, and when it's cold, they become ice, which you cannot grab onto. So you can't climb on them. And then you'll see that the is it the sprite, the model, the texture of this lava that's rising up becomes like ice spikes when you switch to ice, but it doesn't actually change anything in this part. But we'll be getting sandwich lava later, which moves up while you're in heat and moves down while you're in cold, right here.
So while Akko was explaining that, Tom did get all 5 of the berries that he needed, so we just have to complete this chapter, and that is the end of the run.
Yeah, in case it wasn't clear, this is not a PB, but it's close, and that's what matters.
It was indeed close.
I think it's on pace to be some like 10-15 seconds off, which is pretty good.
As good as you
Not
can
gonna ask for
a
more.
marathon.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't be
Marathon
talking
setting
before
too.
it finishes. But
So even though Tom already has all 175 berries, we don't just like quit out and end the run there. We end the run at the end of the chapter because it's a more concrete ending than just like stopping at the 175th berry. And we'll be coming up on card collection here, which will be time.
and time.
Here we go.
Very good run.
51:26. It's a pretty good
Yeah,
time.
not bad.
Wow.
Yeah, overall I thought that was a very good run. Good job, Tom.
But yeah, now the run's over. I'd like to thank a couple of people. I'd like to thank both my commentators, Akko, Eric, you were great. I'd also like to thank the Celeste friends and the entire community as a whole. And yeah, and thanks to the devs, they've been really active and in promoting the speedrunning scene. This game was designed to be speedrun, and yeah, there's a really low barrier of entry to speedrunning. Like most people, when they start out speedrunning this game, they literally just play through the game one more time. But you can see there's a massive skill ceiling, and so yeah, it's a really fun game, both casually and as a speedrun. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and